this is Ken Anderson, and I've been at North Carolina State University in the Prestige Department of Poultry Science for 30 years, but I've been a member of Poultry Science for 37 years. I grew up in north central Illinois, right in the middle of the Corn Belt. And it was a time when a kid could leave home for the day and your mom wouldn't call the police as a missing child. My dad went into the laying hen business in 1966, and that's really when I got involved with chickens. And really, I grew up in the egg industry. Always had chores to do, but always took the time to go to the neighbors and work with them. So I learned how to milk a cow by hand, and I always spent a lot of time over at our other neighbors, Henley and Elsie Madison. They were like a second set of parents to me, and worked with them. And they had beef cattle and row crop farm, so only about a mile from home. So I was never out of sight from where I lived, but didn't spend a whole lot of time there during the day, except when I had to do chores. Well, I enjoyed growing up on a farm and in an agricultural community. Probably in retrospect, at the time, I really didn't think the chickens were that great a deal because no matter what, at the end of the day or at the beginning of the day, whether it was a weekend or not, I had chores to do, and they typically took about 2.5 hours to get through. So no matter where I was, I always had that looming. So it was kind of a drag at that time. I had sports and all that. And here again, after football practice, I had to go back and do what I had to do to help out the family. I had to say my junior year, my dad bought me a 53 Ford truck, and that's what I rebuilt it that summer, and that's what I drove my last year in high school. And I guess it's from my dad and both my mom, because she worked outside of the house. That's where I kind of got my drive and responsibility for life, to stay with it and work hard and get things done. Well, actually, what prompted me to pursue getting a degree was my high school advisor, Mr. Trujillo. I'd go in and in my spare time and talk with him, and basically he really helped me see that getting a degree was a way to go and to enter in. And agriculture at that time was really making a transition from from very industrial arts, which is mechanics and simple husbandry, to much more computerization. And it was a slow transition. I've seen it all, but it helped me say, hey, I think I need to get a degree. And I did try to buy a farm when I was after I got my degree, so it helped me aspire to greater things. So originally I was going to be an engineer, but I learned early on that I don't think like an engineer. Graduate school, really, it's something I kind of fell into. I worked in the industry for about 3.5 years after I got my bachelor's degree, and I was general manager of a co-op. The co-op decided not to expand, so I started looking for opportunities. Kansas State University happened to be looking for a superintendent for their poultry research farm and for an instructor level faculty. So I applied, and fortunately I was selected for that. And they wrote into my job offer that I would continue on for an advanced degree. It was purely serendipity. Part of the move after school was to go to Kansas. And it was interesting. I took the job as manager of the co-op in Kansas. And then 2 weeks later, I got a call from DeKalb Poultry, 5 miles up the road, offering me a job, but I had already taken one. It wasn't a bad move because I met my wife. I don't think I'd be where I am today without her. I can't emphasize that aspect enough. Oh, wow. There's been a lot of individual projects that I've worked on. Part of my job in the industry, which taught me a whole lot about myself, but part of my job in the industry was to actually go out and sell pullets to potential producers. And that really showed an introvert how he could be perceived as an extrovert. So it really helped me understand how to communicate with people and how to interact with farmers and all that, which has really helped me in my extension career, and probably impacted me as much as anything going forward from there. I mean, the other thing, when I went down to Kansas State University as an instructor level faculty and superintendent, where I also got my graduate degrees, I taught 5 classes. So a 25-year-old walking into a classroom of 20-year-olds and being the sole instructor in the room is a unique experience. So it allowed me to draw upon a lot of my background and a lot of my growing up experiences because I was teaching introductory poultry science. So here again, that brought a lot of experience in itself. But I think I had the opportunity to work on some really interesting projects with Dr. Al Adams and Dr. Jim Craig at Kansas State University that were really related. My major was poultry husbandry, but working with both of them, especially combined and with Jim Craig, it kind of pushed me into the animal behavior, animal welfare area that really kind of shaped, the initial part of my career when I came to North Carolina State University. Working with the layer performance and management test. It brought me into Poultry Science Association on the animal welfare committees. That was some of the most formative projects. And here again, it wasn't a singularity, a single project, but just multiple projects in my graduate years and my early faculty years at Kansas State that, that really helped form where I am today. All my advisors were Poultry Science Association members. They showed me the value of the association, what the meetings meant, interacting with people, the links and the acquaintances that we make in poultry science. And a lot of times, some of them become lifelong friends. So PSAs really benefited me in association with development of my career, especially in the field of animal welfare. While at Kansas State, I worked with Jim Craig on animal behavior and welfare research. And basically, this provided me kind of a bias for animal behavior research when I moved into NC State. And then while at NC State, PSA saw fit to, appoint me to represent ALAC International on animal care accreditation programs. PSA also appointed me to represent them on PACO's board of directors, Professional Animal Auditor Training Group. So that's where my association with poultry science has led me. But even within poultry science, serving on the animal welfare committee, for a number of years and times, and on other committees related to training videos that we've done, has really helped me give back to the industry and to give back to the association. For me, it's my role in the leadership of the Animal Welfare Committee, where we got into creating videos that helped implement the Ag Guide at a time when people really didn't want to implement it. But that leadership role led me to be recognized by the PSA board that I would be a good representative on these other organizations. So it's kind of a combination of things. And I feel that the leadership that I gained in poultry science in my roles on committees actually led to my recognition as, hey, he might be a good person to have on the board. And ultimately, they elected me to the board of directors for both ALAC International and PACA. So I sit on the as an officer on the board of directors of both those groups. COVID-19 is changing the world we live in, period. We will go back to some semblance of normalcy, what we consider normalcy. But we will never go all the way back. Unfortunately, handshakes may be a thing of the past. I hope not, but hey, we'll pull out our sanitizer bottle and after every handshake. The role of poultry science has not diminished. I think the role of poultry science will probably be enhanced as we progress through the 21st century. We have a tremendous responsibility based on what we know the population demands are for protein foods, and poultry products are one area that provides that protein all over the world and for all religions. It is widely accepted, where a lot of the other commodities may not be. But our role as far as research, I think it has really never been greater. We are transitioning to cage-free or free range 3 times faster. So what we need to know about the new chicken because of genetic selection and how it's going to react to those new environments is tremendous. And I think the role of poultry science post COVID-19 is phenomenal. I really wish we had more PhDs going into academia. I think we're facing a shortage of people moving into academia to train the next generation. I'm ending, I guess I've got a lot of gray hair, so that kind of points to the stage I am in my career. But I'd like to see more young people taking the calling of being an educator into consideration and moving into academia. I tell my graduates, I said, you've earned your PhD, and in most cases, in a very narrow area of research knowledge, and we all started that way. But always remember that your degree is not the end, but is actually the beginning of your pathway. And it is a moment in time of a lifetime of learning. But the PhD has given you the opportunity to, if a door presents itself, and what I call a door, an opportunity presents itself, the PhD gives you the tool to open that door and walk through it into that opportunity. I mean, I've had that happen to me twice in my life. I was walking down the hallway and a colleague goes, "Ken, I think you need to be involved in this." And that was rapid egg cooling of shell eggs. And, so it led to my tenure. Ingenuity that we had to use to accomplish things 20 years ago was fun. When you have these opportunities come your way and you can go through them and you can be innovative and think outside the box, it is a lot of fun. There's a person I'm going to name, but it's the circumstance in how that person played the role. So the person I'm going to name is Bob Graff. And he was, at that time, was the president of the board for the State Line Egg Producers Cooperative Association. And the circumstance was at IPPE, or at that time it used to be a U.S. Poultry and Egg, trade show. I interviewed with Land O'Lakes up in Minneapolis. Well, State Line worked with Land O'Lakes, so Bob Graff asked the HR people at Land O'Lakes, "Do you have any good potential managers?" And Land O'Lakes actually just forwarded my resume down to Bob Graff, and he called me in for an interview. And because of that circumstance, I was hired on as general manager of State Line Egg Producers Cooperative out of Beatrice. And like I said, that probably changed, that job offer definitely changed my life and the direction in which I took, because like I said previously, 2 weeks later, I got a call to be a flocks manager for DeKalb Poultry, 6 miles from home. So that individual, took me 1,100 miles from home, and really changed the direction of my life. And like I said, because of it, I met my wife. So hey, that's an added bonus. And it got me into Kansas, which led to Kansas State University. In all honesty, I think it's probably the greatest honor of my professional career to be named as a fellow. And to be recognized by one's peers is a humbling experience. And it leads me back to 2 weeks after I got my PhD. My dad sent me a poem that was entitled "The Indispensable Man" by S.W. Kessinger. I guess my dad didn't realize that it actually kind of shaped the moral direction of my career. But the last stanza is, the moral of this quaint example is to do just the best that you can, to be proud of yourself, but remember, there's no indispensable man. And I've done the best that I can in my career. I'm very proud of my accomplishments and the contributions to the industry that I love, because I really do love the egg industry. But I know that I'm not indispensable. And I know that someone, and I hope some of the people that I've had the opportunity to train will go on. Personally, I hope that my kids will look at this and realize that regardless of where you start, because I started basically at the bottom, if you work hard, you can make a difference. And professionally, I hope colleagues in academia and industry will realize that I haven't changed. And I still want to be innovative. I still want to be relevant, and that I'm still learning. And a lot of this is coming from life's experiences. And that's the best I can say about being a fellow of poultry science.